patient, but our patience is wearing thin. Come on, man.
How many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Zoo. It is Sunday Night Live here on the Prepared Mind channel. Now, this is the show, folks. This is the show where you get to direct the direction, the content, the subject matter. You get to ask the questions, make the statements, crack the jokes, and put me on the spot. I'm on the spot, folks. We'll probably do a minimum of 2 hours. That's typically what happens here on the Zoo, but it'll go as long as you want to talk, as long as that super chat button up there gets hit, super chat, and I'll make you famous. That's what it's about, folks. It is really, things are nasty out there in the world. If you took you from where you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and brought you right today and said, look, this is the shit that's going on, your head would explode. You'd think you're on another planet. That's what you would think. But because they have brought us along, folks, piece by piece by piece by piece, and slowly been beating the shit out of us with all of these events, wave after wave of SHTF nonsense, cerveza bug stupidity and rules and lockdowns and do this and do that and you can't do the other and you're quarantined here and you can't do this and you got to wear a mask that and businesses are shut here and you're going to be fined for that. I mean, this is Soviet-style gulag, locked the country down, Nazi Gestapo horse shit, and it is never ending, and it's actually getting worse. Anyways, you guys, the super chat button up there is for you. You can do a super chat. You can do PayPal, and I've got email set up, so if I get a PayPal donation with a question, I'll know it's you guys. Essentially, what you fund here on the Zoo is the GTFB fund for John. Now, I've told you guys, some of you new folks in the past, I was in paradise at the RMZ. That stands for the Real Man Zone, where I went and tamed some jungle. But I was like, you know what? The 2020 Trump election, where we had that thing, I wanted to get back to the continental United States and stay here for the duration. And you guys, you're making it happen, right? The glorious living circumstances, living conditions I'm in, right? I'm bunkered in. It's because you guys pay the bills. You keep the lights on. You keep the spam in the pantry, and you keep me in the hot seat. And every day we pour over this information. I want to thank everyone out there. We got Bonnie Blue. We got Mr. Skylight. We got Mr. T. We got dozens and dozens of you sending information. We got Fuzzy out there. We got Robert out there. We got John out there. Everybody that's sending me information, thank you much. Paul, everybody. There's too many names, too many names. Anyways, let us do this. Let's start getting into the information. Now, what you're going to notice is in the first few minutes, we're at 300 live viewers. In a matter of minutes, we're going to be up more than the President of the United States ever gets. And that's incredible, folks. But go ahead, make a donation to the super chat. Let's do a super chats, and I'll make you famous. Boy, that was kind of funny. Hopefully it came through nice and smooth. One of the first things I want to talk about today before we get into the news is Crispy Bacon has been doing a lot of research and development of a system to get you as preppers vegetables, that is vitamins, super nutrients that you can't get out of other plants. And when shit hits the fan really bad, gets really bad, how are you going to get fresh salad? And now down south, a little easier. You're like, yeah, we get collard greens and all that. Okay. Up north, it's going to be harder. So I've talked about sprouts and how you can do it. I'm going to show you this. Okay. This is a big old mayonnaise jar. Okay. That's actually a big mayonnaise jar. I just have big hands. Inside this are 2 salads. You can grow one of these, right? This has got half a pound of sprouts in it. You can grow it in 5 days. This was 2 tablespoons of seeds. This is a 1 pound pack of those seeds for $10. For $100 a year, broccoli sprouts that come from these seeds, $100 will get you 1 4-ounce salad a day per person, right? 1 4-ounce salad. And it's 50 times as nutritious as if you ate the broccoli that it would grow from it out the top. You know, you get a big head of broccoli. Per pound, it's 50 times more potent. It is incredibly nutritious. Doesn't taste all that bad, especially if you put like a teaspoon of salad dressing on it. But for preppers, this is it. You don't need sunlight. You just need a window. You set the little jar in and it grows. 5 days, you go from a teaspoon of seeds. What you do is you start off with fresh water out of your Berkey water filter. And Chris is going to be doing some videos on this, Crispy Bacon. He's going to be doing some more videos on it. And you can find him at Clear Water Chris. Clear Water is one word, Clear Water Chris. And he's doing this and he's finding out how to get the most nutrition, the most value, cheapest. Now, if I buy a bag of salad at the store for $3 and that's got 2 salads in it, that gets me $1.50 per salad, 365 days. That's $500 about buying a bag salad at the store. $500 a year I would spend on salads versus this, right? Like 33 cents a day versus $1.50 a day. And it's not 50 times more nutritious than watery lettuce. It's 50 times more nutritious than dense broccoli. So it's just really important. I really recommend it, folks. I recommend getting over and looking at Clearwater Chris's work that he's doing. It is prepper oriented. If things go bad, if we have food interruptions, maybe you don't need this for every day. But maybe, folks, you'll need it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It's incredible. I've been eating them myself. I'm trying it out now, and it's working out very, very well for me. You feel better. It's a nice clean salad, and by using the Berkey water filter, which we sell at thepreparedmind.club, by using that water, you know you're getting water that doesn't have chlorine, fluoride, and other chemicals and junk and heavy metals in it. In other words, you're not eating vegetables that you don't know what was done with them and who grew them and what's inside of them. Not to mention, they're trying to put Jim Jones juice into our produce. I read that story the other day. I'm like, what? What, are you going to buy a tomato and it's got Jim Jones juice in it? You're going to buy a head of lettuce with Jim Jones juice? You're going to buy your spinach, your broccoli, your cauliflower. Everything comes pre-Jim Jones juiced. For that reason alone, I am going to back away and get more into this. This isn't having 10 acres of field, folks, or 5 acres of field. This is a windowsill. And if I've got one of these jars or 7 of these jars, I've got 2 adult-sized salads per jar per day. 7 jars, and that you just cycle it through. And you germinate the seeds, they start sprouting up. 5 days later, they're done. You put them in a bag, put them in the fridge. They last for days and days and days in the fridge, but we eat them. They're just gone. It's done. You put them in a smoothie, you make a salad out of them, put them on a fucking hamburger. Anyways, just something to talk about, something to think about. Vegetables, right? I tell you, you get canned meats because you need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. right? Food, protein, vegetables. It's going to get shitty out there. Okay, let us continue if we shall. I got to stay calm. I got to remember this. Sunday Night Live here at the zoo with you guys is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I get into sprint mode a lot of times because normally we only do a half-hour Q&A, but this will be 4 hours with your super chats that come in. So I covered the salad. I covered the seeds. That's a big, big deal. And I want to get into what is happening around the country. Governor Evers of Wisconsin, who is not, folks, who is not a diehard conservative. Governor Evers, I believe, is the same liberal scumbag that was in charge of Wisconsin during the 2020 riots. Anyways, he announced on Friday that National Guard troops will be deployed to Kenosha in anticipation of the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. Oh yeah, folks, the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. And I am extremely satisfied on a couple counts. Number one, that I think I was ahead of everyone else when it came to saying, look, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is not about BLM and Antifa. It is not about Kyle Rittenhouse even. It is about all of us having the right to defend ourselves. Now, the government hasn't been able to defeat us on the Second Amendment. They haven't been able to take away our high-capacity magazines. Right? California, they lost it. I don't know what's going on in New York. I'm sorry, New York, if you guys still aren't allowed, or did you guys get yours back and they ruled that down? Anyways, they can't get the guns, they can't get the ammo, they can't get the magazines. So now they're trying to make everyone believe that if you use your gun in self-defense, even though the Supreme Court has ruled very strongly, very recently, just a few years ago, that the right to self-defense, the Second Amendment, is an individual right. Still, what they're showing is that individual prosecutors can prosecute you for murder if you defend yourself. Now, I've listened to the prosecution's argument, and folks, they don't hold water any better than a bucket that has been hit with buckshot, right? It's leaking everywhere. Their arguments suck, but there's big fear going on. The people that are on the jury are afraid they'll be called racists if they don't convict Kyle Rittenhouse, even though he didn't shoot anyone of color. He shot 3 white criminal. They got criminal records for either being sex offenders or domestic abusers, and they were all, I believe, white. But still, they're going to call him a racist. They're trying to tie this court case to the Kenosha riots, which were about, it was more downstream horse shit from the St. George Floyd incident. But they're making this about your right to defend yourself. So Governor Evers is realizing that all of this pressure is on that jury. And not to mention that BLM and Antifa members have been filming the juries, their faces, trying to get their names, wanting to dox them, wanting to threaten them. If you don't find him guilty, right, there's going to be riots, there's going to be burning, there's going to be all kinds of shit going on. You know, the same way BLM has threatened the new mayor of New York City, saying, look, if you try bringing the police back in the same numbers as they were before, if you refund the police, then there will be fires, riots, and looting in New York City. Well, so Governor Evers, left-wing ding-dong, is deploying the National Guard. I believe it was 500 troops. I think that was the number that was tossed about. Yep. Because these people are so willing, folks, to just destroy everything when they don't get their way. Unbelievable. But it's coming. Get ready for it. This verdict, I think, will be coming this week. unless something else happens. But our entire way of life is on trial right now. Our entire way of life is on trial. As Americans, as human beings, folks, I don't know if you recall, but Austria, the country of Austria, which is right next to Germany, has said that if you have not gotten the Jim Jones juice, you are going to be quarantined in your house. You're going to be locked down until further notice. What's the difference between being locked down in your house and being picked up by the police and taken to a concentration camp? Well, the difference is in your house, you're paying for it, not the government. And the other big difference is if you're not in a concentration camp, they're not shooting you in the back of the head. That's about the only difference. Otherwise, your rights are completely, absolutely violated. Done. And our viewership is growing fast as we go live into this world, this zoo, and it is worldwide, folks. It is a worldwide broadcast on the zoo. It is Patreon. It is YouTube, all put together. And I would ask this. Get the URL, get the website address, and send it to friends via text, email, whatever it takes, because it's nasty out there, folks. Now, I've talked about how the government is doing this and the government is doing that. Who's to blame? Who is not? Former Raiders coach John Gruden is showing America how to fight. Now, I used to be a big Raiders fan back when I gave a fuck about football, and that was up until the Snow Bowl. But John Gruden has been kind of interesting, and I covered this weeks ago when he was outed. Some of his private emails and conversations were released, and he was made out to be a homophobe and a racist. And I thought, this is kind of interesting. You know, and Gruden is not, he kind of reminds me of me a little bit. He's kind of a hard-nosed dude. And he's just a couple years older than me, but he basically called, I think, Roger Goodell a pussy, and as well as a number of other people for what they've done. And he's calling this, what's been done to him, Soviet-style character assassination. And, oh, yeah, he also called now President Joe Biden, he called him a nervous, clueless pussy. And somehow the New York Times got a bunch of emails showing that John Gruden made misogynistic and homophobic comments over the years. You know, called people clueless anti-football pussy. That's what he called Roger Goodell. Apparently he likes calling people pussies. So now he is suing the NFL, folks, saying his career was ruined because of malicious and orchestrated campaign against him. Now, what's important here to note is there is no protection for you or me. There's no protection for anybody who is famous or thinks they're rich enough, right? Policemen, you are not part of the system and protected. You are a tool that's being used. Local and state government officials, elected bureaucrats, you're not part of the system. You're not protected. You're being used as a tool. And I keep hearing people ask, guys, don't you realize that you're being forced to get the Jim Jones juice as well, and you're going to be a victim of it? Right? And that's why you'll see, and you'll keep hearing that police, firemen, first responders, union members, the Postal Service, federal government workers, they don't want to take it. Prison guards, policemen, sheriff's deputies, they don't want to take the Jim Jones juice. The military, they don't want to take it. I think it was the Oklahoma National Guard said, nope, we're going to fight it. It is incredible what is going on. The rejection of it. And there is no protection, folks, because of who you think you are, how important or powerful you are. And I think John Gruden is a fine example of a regular dude being doxxed, being outed, being kicked out of the club of being famous or powerful, influential. Nobody is safe, in other words. Nobody is safe. Not even me. Nobody's safe, folks. I dodge bullets and dance between the raindrops every single broadcast, trying to stay on this channel. And if it wasn't for you guys and your super chat donations, that super chat donation button up there, that keeps me in this chair. That keeps the lights on and keeps us going. And also on Sunday Night Live at the zoo here, it's your chance to run the show. There's no way, though, folks. There's no way that this isn't going to get worse, that it isn't going to get nasty. And I hope John Gruden kicks the shit out of private corporations for doing the same thing that government is trying to do. And that's railroad us into living life the way they think we should. The woke world, the super control by the government world, people are rejecting it. They're splitting us into groups, folks. Divide and conquer. All right, we got Crazy Uncle who checks in with a super chat donation. And he says this: preppers getting supplies ready are like the Joker. Quote, we're not monsters, we're just ahead of the curve. You bet. We're definitely not monsters, though. If anyone were to say that we're monsters, I would I would probably have some comments for them, yeah. But this really is what we've done. I have been prognosticating, I have been predicting that we're going to get to the point where we're at today. You and me, we've been here for years and years and years. I've been on the air here on YouTube since December of 2013 saying, look at what's coming. And folks, now it's here. Once again, if you took yourself with what you know back 5 years and told everybody what's happening, would they listen? You say, no, people are being told to stay home, locked in their houses. Kids are being told you have to wear masks. You're being told that you've got to take this Kool-Aid, and people are dying from it, and they're still being told to take it. And if you go to some states, they're going to lock you down in quarantine, and you're not allowed to travel on airlines. People, their heads would explode. They'd explode. They wouldn't be able to handle it. But here we are today. I mean, here we are today, and it's happening. And I'm saying, get prepared. Right? We've got the thepreparedmind.club. The thepreparedmind.club is your store. You can get food, folks, long-term food storage. You can get water filtration. You can get all the stuff you need. Get prepared. The government is trying to either tell you to get the Jim Jones juice or completely destroy your life, and corporations have joined with them. That's called fascism, by the way, folks. That's absolutely called fascism. When business joins government and they both benefit each other, and us, the people, are kind of cut out. Kind of fascinating, no? Right? They're punishing us. And by the way, thank you again for that super chat donation. Here we've got another article of what has happened over the weekend. The Texas Health and Human Services, folks, is denying, get this, they're denying monoclonal antibody treatments for white people. So a man asks, he says, if I were black or Hispanic, then I would qualify to get this monoclonal antibody? And the nurse says, yep, that's right. So they're withholding things. So the government, now Health and Human Services is all government. They're saying, yeah, we're going to be racially discriminatory towards white people. Folks, that's absolutely unconstitutional. It is a crime, in fact. It's an absolute crime. So you've got that on the one hand, right? There's Health and Human Services. And then you've got hospitals on the other hand, where doctors around the country are starting to come out and say, if you haven't got the Jim Jones juice, if you haven't drank the Kool-Aid, then we're not going to treat you. We're not going to let you in, right? If you haven't gotten the Jim Jones juice, then you don't get to have a heart transplant. We've heard that. You don't get to see your doctor anymore because you are selfish. You're bad. You're hurting other people. And I don't know one person who has not taken the vaccine. I don't know one person who has gone up and caused a heart attack on someone else. But I do know that if you drink the Kool-Aid, you can die of a heart attack. Unbelievable, folks. It really is. It's not getting better. In fact, This one has just been burning my ass, chapping my hide all fucking weekend long. Gene Simmons of KISS, right? He's decided that anyone who won't get the Jim Jones juice is delusional and evil and is his enemy. Now, this is Gene Simmons of KISS, right? Rock and roll guy, and his moniker on stage while painted up as a circus freak is called the Demon. And he's calling us evil. He's also what I consider to be a tribal racist type of guy. I'm not a big fan of Gene Simmons. What little respect I had for him for his work ethic has been completely evaporated by his evisceration of common sense, decency, and just fucking human dignity. But that's how he is. And what do you expect from a guy like Gene Simmons anyways? If he could make money off of anybody, he will. But in this case, I think at his age, because he is now a geriatric rock star, and I don't have anything against people who are geriatric, but he's just a geriatric asswipe. He's afraid for his life, much the same way that our good buddy Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the great strongmen or bodybuilders in his life, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger has said that, screw your freedoms. He's old too, and now he's worried about his health. Unbelievable, just unbelievable. Where do I go from there? Oh, we got Johnny Freedom Seed out there with a $20 super chat donation. You give me a super chat, folks. I'll read your question. I'll make you famous. Question, statement, whatever you've got. He says, "Hey John, happy belated birthday, Devil Dog. You bet. November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. November 11th is Veterans Day. Thank you, Johnny Freedom Seed." He says, "Keep up the great work as always. Semper Fi." And folks, yeah, Semper Fi to all of you means always faithful. It's the Marine Corps motto, but it's for all of us to use. If you're a patriotic American, always being faithful to what you know, what you believe, your faith, your family, the country. Folks, what are you loyal to? Who are you loyal to? Yourself or to the government that appears to not really give a shit about us? I tell you what, folks, I am loyal. Have the courage of your convictions to stand up for what you know is right. We're starting to see, folks, a big difference between people who have the courage of their convictions and believe in freedom and those who just let it blow away in the wind. They do whatever the government says. They bend over to woke corporate demands. And they are just husks of human beings. They're hollow. There's nothing to them. There's no substance. There's no life in them. They are now lifeless slaves. All right. We got Crazy Uncle with one of his weekly prepper tips. He did the $5 super chat donation, and he says, "Prepper tip, when things go from bad to oh shit, if you have animals or crops, you're going to have to guard them, just like when the mines went on strike." This is a great point, and once again, we're now facing the realities of SHTF. We're being told there are going to be food shortages. China, the government of China told their own people weeks ago, had a bad harvest. We've had a bad year. We've had bad floods. We're not going to have as much food as normal. Start saving up. Start prepping, in other words. Here in America, we're being told by the meat producers and other farmers, yeah, things are looking kind of bad. We're going to have shortages of meat. We're being told by the truckers, hey, right? A lot of us are not going to go back to work if they're requiring the Jim Jones juice. They're not unloading the ships. We have a complete infrastructure breakdown in this country. And it comes not as a consequence of anything you or I have done wrong. It comes as a consequence of actions taken by the government, by people who don't have our best interests at heart. Now, I have to be extremely, extremely careful on this. I'm going to read you a direct quote from Dr. Fauci, who is the recognized authority when it comes to COVID. And he's speaking of people who have taken the Jim Jones juice. He says they are seeing, this is a quote, Dr. Fauci, quote, they are seeing a waning of immunity, not only against infection, but against hospitalization and to some extent death, which are starting to now involve all age groups. It isn't just the elderly, Dr. Fauci said. It's waning their immunity. It's waning to the point that you're seeing more and more people getting breakthrough infections. And more of those people who are getting breakthrough infections are winding up in the hospital. But wait, there is more. And this is incredibly powerful. Once again, this is Dr. Fauci, and I have a quote. And he went on to say, quote, that the boosting is going to be an absolutely essential component of our response. Not a bonus, not a luxury, but an absolute essential part of the program. Have you ever been told, get with the program? I have been told that many, many times in my life, but only after I have refused to get with the program, whether it is a government mandate or a friend or family member being an asswipe. Hey, if I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. This is incredible, folks. I just read to you exactly what Dr. Fauci has said, that people are getting sick more and more. Their immune systems are getting weaker. And it's not just the old people. More and more are getting breakthrough cases and going to the hospital and dying. And as a consequence of that, you're going to have to start looking at the boosters. It's going to be an essential component of the government response. It's not a bonus. It's not a luxury. It's an absolutely essential part of the program. So their program, mandatory program, remember, Joe Biden is talking about mandates. Dr. Fauci is talking about medicine. So the mandatory program is the booster medicine, because apparently immune systems aren't holding up. Isn't that incredible? Now, we're going on, well over a year and a half of cerveza bug out there. Admitted cerveza bug in the world. Going over, well over 18 months, and I've never gotten it. I think, well, maybe I have, because how would I know? We were told that like 85% of people don't even get symptoms. They wouldn't even know if they got it. That's how deadly it is. Unbelievable, folks. If 80% of us, never mind, I won't get into any more statistics than that. Just understand, folks, they're going on to this booster program. And I'm going to get right to you in a second here, Cottage Farm. But I want to talk about a couple other small items. Again, pay attention, pay close fucking attention to this. It's critical. Apparently, over in China, something has gotten out. Didn't we hear about this a while back? Something getting out of China? Whoops, yeah. Apparently, there's a lab leak at East China University of Science and Technology in Shanghai, not Wuhan. So we have we got cerveza Shanghai. Look out! New strains are being reported in Asia. How about that, folks? How about that? It's starting to get out. I've got one of you out there has let me know that they know a nurse in Thailand. I believe it's Thailand. Works in the big hospital in Thailand, and lo and behold, they're starting to see kind of what Dr. Fauci's talking about. People are coming in and they're not doing quite so well. So you can bet your bottom dollar I won't be lining up to get any Kool-Aid anytime soon, because apparently it wears off and you're actually in weaker states. Unbelievable. What I want you to do is, if you're on YouTube, I'm very sorry, but if you're on Patreon, pay special attention over the coming weeks between now and Christmas, especially. We're going to be covering all of the cerveza bug what doctors have to say, what specialists have to say. We're going to be covering that on Patreon. I'm not allowed to talk about it or cover it here on YouTube or put links down below. That will get us removed, and we can't have that. But on Patreon, we can show you. So everyone on Patreon, we've got powerful information that's going to be coming in after Christmas, and certainly after New Year. Expect some incredible pressure and mandates. Maybe before, I don't know. But certainly after the New Year, these mandates that are coming from Joe Biden are going to get oppressive. And they're going to use the component of fear, just like they did with, oh my God, it's here, and lock down and flatten the curve in just 2 weeks. That's all, we promise, right? I'm only going to put the head of it in. It's only going to hurt for a little while. Yeah, right. It's going to get, after Christmas, after New Year, they're going to get really restrictive again, folks. Austria, like I said, is now locking down people who have not gotten the Kool-Aid. It makes it real easy for the police to go door to door and round you up if you're a political dissident, if you're a vocal protester, if they just don't like you for whatever reason. That is why when they say you're locked down, it is best to say, fuck you, and not be where they think you're going to be so they can get you. I mean, literally, if you're not at the place they think, which is why, folks, I am on the move. I stay as invisible as possible. And my brother Jim is going to be on the move big time. He's going to be doing more remote reporting also. So expect to see him as well. I'm getting to you, Cottage Farm, I promise. But yeah, there's a new strain coming, folks. It's going to be more dangerous. Boosters are going to be needed. The mandates from Biden are coming, even though the Fifth Circuit Court has said, not working. And I'll get into that in a second. I've got some PayPal donations come in, and there's just so much going on, folks. Let us do this. Let us get to Cottage Farm. She says, food shortage from big farms, shortage on nitrogen, fertilizer, etc. This is a big deal, folks. Thank you very much for bringing this up. If there's shortages on fuel, shortages on energy, shortages on deliveries, not enough drivers, farms, folks, cover hundreds of thousands and millions of acres of industrially farmed produce. You know, tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers, squash, broccoli, peppers, salad, what you name it, whatever you eat, apples, oranges, bananas, everywhere that they need fertilizer, they're having a harder time getting fertilizer. There's a shortage of this stuff. For the same reason there's a shortage of everything else. So there's some farms that are out there saying, we'd love to get you things, but we haven't been able to fertilize things quite as well. We can't get components, and so we're having smaller yields. They're not getting as many bushels or tons of produce per acre. It's going down, folks. Down, down, down. Thank you for the great super chat donation there, Cottage Farm. Now we got Timothy Larrett with a $5 super chat donation. He says, John, I damn near Biden my pants today. Finally found ammo. LOL. Folks, for those who aren't familiar with dropping a Biden in your pants, that's shit in your pants. The man crapped his pants in front of the Pope, and then he crop dusted the royal family in London. Way to go, Joe Biden. And anyways, I'm glad you found ammunition. Now, we had all of our shortages, right? Ammunition, we got shortages because of gun control threats, and then cerveza bug shortages, and then it started to trickle back up, and now it's going to go down again because of shortages. Fertilizer requires nitrogen. Gunpowder is nitrocellulose. The component called nitrogen that's used in fertilizer, gunpowder, all kinds of things, right? It's going to be in short supply. It's going to start getting hard to find ammunition again, folks. All right, we've got Damian English who's checking in. He says, Bobo's mandate, and Bobo is Biden, and Bobo is the deuce master. He says, Bobo Biden's mandate has been struck down in the Fifth Circuit Court. Where does it go from here? Also, your thoughts on shooting from the movie set Rust. Politically motivated is my guest. Your thoughts, Marine? Well, let's start with the Fifth Circuit Court. Let's start with that. What happened, folks, is this fella named Ron Klain. He did a tweet bragging that the OSHA rule, that is Biden telling OSHA to make Jim Jones juice part of an OSHA requirement, is, quote, the ultimate workaround. In other words, they're admitting that they're trying to circumvent the rules. But in this case, the rules are the United States Constitution. So they're in big trouble. The Biden administration, these wacko leftist scumbag motherfuckers up in DC, because they're showing us they're either so stupid, too fucking arrogant, or they think they own everybody. They're telling everybody, yeah, we're just bending the rules, we're breaking the rules, we're going around. We're going to use OSHA because the president has zero fucking authority to mandate jack shit. So before, there was a mandate that was just a press conference, and then they're like, no, now it's an OSHA rule. Well, that's being sued out, and yeah, the Fifth Circuit's like, hey, you don't get to do that. You don't get to work around the Constitution. So basically, they pissed in their own Cheerios. The Democrats did, the Biden, Bobo, and his crowd, and they made it hard for themselves because this idiot Ron Klain is out there tweeting how they got the ultimate workaround. Yeah, you don't get to circumvent the Constitution. The Constitution is not an obstacle. The Constitution is not a fence you're allowed to jump over or cut with a pair of tin snips. You're not allowed to run through it with a car. The Constitution is supposed to be an ironclad, concrete reinforced, barbed wall of protection, not for anyone other than us, me and you, the people. Anyways, Damien, excellent. I'm glad you brought up the topic. And my thoughts on the shooting from the movie set Rust. Politically motivated is my guess. You know, there's a lot of dust in the air concerning Rust. And some excellent memes are coming out. And the most important ones are the Kyle Rittenhouse court battle over whether or not he committed murder or was it self-defense. That's about taking away your Second Amendment right to self-defense. They can't take away the guns, but they'll take away that self-defense part of it. Now, some of the other memes are about, well, I feel safer with guns in the hand of a 16-year-old teenager named Kyle Rittenhouse than I do in the hands of a 60-something-year-old actor named Alec Baldwin. Yeah, I believe he's the Rust guy. Yeah, who did it? How did live ammo make it onto a set? It's a movie set. There should never be any live ammo on a movie set. You have guns with fake pop, pop, pop. And then you got special effects guys that make things look like they've been shot. They put off sparks. Folks, no bullets make sparks. You know, they put off a poof of smoke. They you know, those movie bullets are amazing. Anyways, it is absolutely incredible. Thank you for the great super chat donation, Damien. Roll on, brother. It is going to get really crazy out there. My thoughts, is it political? I have a feeling because Alec Baldwin is such an anti-Second Amendment guy. All of Hollywood is absolutely anti-Second Amendment. It almost feels like it was done to once again bring guns and ammunition, the Second Amendment, into the limelight. But it happened at a time when we've already got that. But maybe they're just trying to make a shit sandwich. Thankfully, it's failing. These fucking morons are failing. And a special note, 977 of you live right now. Folks, the President of the United States couldn't get more than 500 live, couldn't get more than 1,500 after having his video up for a couple of days. They took down. YouTube changed their policy and took down the visibility of how many thumbs down people get because the president was getting thousands of thumbs down versus only a couple of dozen of thumbs up. So they're hiding it now. Can you believe that a super corporation like YouTube changing its thumb policy to hide what an absolute abject failure the president of the United States is, Biden. When a show like this, and we're actually not a nobody show. This show is 7 days a week. We have live broadcasts 6 days a week. We go around the globe. We have people in England, Ireland, the Netherlands, the United States, Mexico, Canada, Australia, China, the whole fucking planet. And we're looking into, not only are we looking into a supply for the sprout seeds, we also have a company that's coming online with us. I've got some meat samples from them. As food gets harder and harder to get, I'm going to be able to say, hey, look, we've got our company. You can get grass-fed beef. And we're trying it out now. I've got some cooking right now. Grass-fed beef. They've sent me a couple of samples. Folks, you'll have a beef supply. You'll have a meat stick supply. More prepping supplies. Things are going to get tight around the world. It is absolutely crazy what is going on. I want to thank you for being here. We're going to see if we can get on a couple other networks that bring people back to here, increasing our exposure, right? So that instead of 1,000 people live, we get 1,500, 2,000 on a more regular basis. We get 5,000, 10,000. We need to spread the word. Now, have you noted that as the more people stand up and fight, the more people stand up and say, let's go Brandon and fuck Joe Biden, and the more people fly their Trump flags, and the more people say, I'm not getting the Jim Jones juice, the more people are standing up, the more people are waking up. People are waking up. Now we got Smash Time in here with $5 super chats. He says, love the message. Let's keep this in the second amendment movement alive. I believe Smash Time has his own channel. I recommend going and checking that out. Folks, thank you, Smash Time. The louder we get, the more people hear us, folks. The louder we are, the more people hear us, the more people wake up, the more people join us in fighting back. We got Darcy checking in with a $50 PayPal super chat donation. It says, good evening, John. Been hearing that some of the cargo ships which are stacked up near LA are riding a little high in the water to actually be fully loaded. Any insights? We have speculative reports, Darcy, and I can't call that news. I can't call it a report. We got a lot of speculation. And the speculation is, well, it's pure speculation, folks, that they've blown their ballast tanks. They're burning all of their fuel, and that's causing them to rise. It's hard to believe that that's enough. It's hard to believe that that is enough. But those are some of the reports. Other reports are, and they're not. It's complete speculation that there is illegal cargo personnel on board that are being taken off, and that's a lot of weight for one of those ships to rise. My best guess is if anything is causing it, it really would be ballast. But it's really hard to say. What I do know for certain is there are more and more ships being anchored, and that their wait time is getting longer and longer. That I do know is for certain. I also know that the state of Florida has offered to the use of their ports to unload cargo. And that is really quite interesting. We got Sandra Mass, or Sandra Moss, depending on however you spell it, M-A-S-S. Thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat donation. And here we are, 50 minutes in. I want to toast everyone, have a little drink. I hope you brought something to drink, because what I have to say is not going to get any better. It's not going to get better. We just crossed 1,000 live viewers. Thank you all for coming here to discuss all of the events that are occurring right now. If you came in late, I recommend hitting the drag bar and dragging this video back to the beginning. The first hour is as good as the second. We always cover, folks, incredible topics. Heidi, thank you for the $10 PayPal Super Chat donation for burgers and beer. I tell you what, I'm not liking what they're doing to our food. I'm not liking what they're doing to our drink, our meat, our vegetables. They're talking, folks, they've been doing GMO, a genetically modified organism. They've been doing that to produce for years. I don't like them saying, well, we're going to try and make the Jim Jones juice, right? We're going to get Kool-Aid flavored vegetables and fruits. And so you're not going to have any choice but to eat them. And it's like, well, I tell you what, I'm going to have some choice. That's why we're also finding a meat company, trying to get meat companies that are saying, no, we're not going to have any of that shit. Good quality, grass-fed, none of this feedlot. We're going to inject it full of hormones or steroids or other garbage, right? Not relying on some Chinese food company, food packing plant to get us our meat. So we're trying to find what we can. You need to get stocked up because things are going to get nasty. You need to, I mean, it's hard to say. Not everyone can do this. But if I can grow salad in a windowsill, folks, that's a good start. But yeah, if things go really bad, you're going to have to protect not only yourself, right, but your vegetables in the window. You're going to have to hide what you have, because if people know you have it and they don't have it, things are going to get nasty. And that is the Mad Max world we've been really talking about not wanting to experience. Not wanting to. And a lot of people are waiting for it, like Redline, who sent a 762. That's 7.62, not millimeter, but dollars, in a PayPal Super Chat donation. He says, hey, just waiting for the lead to fly. A lot of people are waiting for the lead to fly. Not because they want it to happen, but because they know it's an inevitability. It's going to come at some point, because what we're seeing is Soviet-style character assassination, as the Raiders ex-head coach John Gruden put out there. We're seeing corporate attacks. We're seeing government attacks. We're seeing bureaucratic attacks. We're seeing school attacks, right? School boards attacking parents. All right, we got Moyne Edwards checking in with a $5 Super Chat donation. Thank you very much, Moyne. Folks, you send in a Super Chat donation with a question or comment, statement, opinion, I'll read it. As long as it doesn't violate YouTube's terms of service, I'll read it and I'll make you famous. So we got Moyne Edwards. You are now famous. He says this: my youngest daughter loves her gun. Oh, I'm glad, Moyne. I'm very glad. But she's being brainwashed in her school. How do we fight the school system? Number one, Moyne, love your children. And this goes for all parents, me included, because I am the father of 2 sons. Love your children. If you love your children, you'll do everything else that it takes to help them. Love them. Tell them all the time you love them. Talk to them about facts. Teachers have a book, and the teachers hand out papers from the book. Teachers don't write the book. Teachers don't know what's in the book. Teachers are just, they're basically, they're daycare, they're babysitters. Essentially, they hand out a curriculum that's already laid out in front of them. A teacher is a teacher. They're not a scholar. A teacher is a teacher. They're not a genius. You, as the parent, have been the most important person in your child's life. Tell them you love them, you care about them, and they should believe you. Tell them you want the very best for them, and they should believe you. Tell them you have done research more than the teachers. And tell them, say, hey, kid, ask me a question. And tell them, if I don't know the answer, I will go get it. I am not teaching you garbage. I'm teaching you the truth because I love you. I'm your parent. Number one, love your children, and that will work. Number two, if you can, get your kids out of public school. You don't have to send them to a $200 or $500 or $1,000 a month private school. You can homeschool. Get other kids and other parents in the neighborhood together, and one of them is going to be able to be a teacher. Again, there's books. There's a curriculum. There's a way to teach this stuff. Teachers aren't making up stuff every day and saying, these are the facts of the universe. It comes in the books. The worst part is the real books they're not using anymore. They're now using these other books, Critical Race Theory, Timmy Has Two Daddies, Heather Has Two Mommies, Being Homosexual is Fun, Here's How You Do It. Those are the books they get now in school, right? Everyone can use any bathroom you want. All of this crap that's going on. If you can, just get your children out of it and create neighborhood schools where you homeschool your children and one parent supervises it. One parent is a teacher. I don't believe they have to be, for homeschool, a certified teacher. Now, that's not advice. You need to consult the rules and the laws for your own state. There's charter school, and then there's homeschooling. And I have known dozens and dozens and dozens of people who have homeschooled their children successfully, and their children don't get brainwashing from the public school system. I feel for you, Moyne. My kids went all the way through the public school system at a very rural, very conservative district in extreme Northern California. And they still got a big, fat fucking dose of brainwashing horse shit. Even though it was a super conservative district. I can't imagine what it's like in a liberal state, in a liberal city. I can't imagine that. They hate America. They're communists being used by fascists. It's unbelievable. All right. We got Diorce, who's checked in. They've become a YouTube member. Awesome, Diorce. The YouTube membership is awesome. The best membership is a Patreon membership. And then we got Steve Conlon, our brother from across the water, across the pond, over in jolly old England. He has a 20-pound super chat donation. And I wanted to thank Steve. And as I refilled my flask with some 18-year-old Scottish water, I thought, Steve Conlon is the one who paid for this particular bottle. And then lo and behold, here you are. Here's to you, brother. And this is what he has to say. Hey, John, here's some money from jolly old England. Thank you, sir, very much. I needed that. And I'm going to need a lot more. Folks, we're all going to need a lot more. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. I just had, over the weekend, I had some friends from across the country. Right now, as you guys know, I'm in the place called the South. I'm in the South. Jim is on the road right now, brother Jim. And Roger prefers to say as locked down as possible, brother Roger. But Jim is on the road. He's going to be doing some reporting from the road. I'm going to have special segments in the daily videos where he's going to chip in, come in live, give us a report, and then phase back out. He's kind of doing a super secret world tour. He's scoping out the countries to see if I can go out safely. So we're not announcing where Jimmy's at, but he'll be doing some of that kind of work. But thank you very much, Mr. Conlon over there in jolly old England. Folks, you need the food. You need water. I also recommend having an ample supply of alcohol. If you aren't an alcohol drinker, I get it. Have liters of vodka. Get the cheapest vodka you can. It doesn't matter. It's good for consumption. It's good for a lot of different things. Look up what vodka is. It is a disinfectant. It is an antiseptic. It is an odor killer. It's all kind. It can be used for all kinds of things. Pickling agents, all kinds of things, folks. Vodka is very beneficial to have. It can also be used for barter. It can be used to make friends. When shit hits the fan, folks, you're going to have your small community or your prepper group. And there are going to be people out there that want your salad. There's going to be people out there that aren't going to be happy with a lot of others. Now, people are going to be mad. They can't get food or water. There's a fuel shortage. There's problems in the world. And they're going to want to express that anger through action. Action typically is violence. They're going to want to express their anger through violent action, and there is no one to blame. Government is invisible. Sometimes it's a building, sometimes it's an agent, but when things get really nasty, you think there's going to be any agents in government buildings? So who are they going to go after? Just like any dog that's injured, the dog nearest to it is going to get bit because, you know, the injured dog is feeling pissed. It's going to blame the nearest one to it. Okay. Jay Barkley sent a $5 super chat donation through PayPal. Thank you, Jay, very, very much. All right, we've got Eric S. with a $10 super chat donation. And he says, I saw this quote today from our founding fathers. And folks, our founding fathers, thank you, Jay, for bringing them up. I'm sorry, thank you, Eric, for bringing them up. Our founding fathers had wisdom, not only beyond their age, but into the future. Everything they talked about, the tyranny of government, the corruption of men, right? The absolute necessity to restrict government. They were brilliant and they were spot on. What do we have today? A government trying to use a bureaucracy to bypass the Constitution so they can force their will upon you. Excuse me? The government is always trying to find more authority, so it gives itself all the permission it can. Well, folks, we gave the government very little permission to do anything except protect us from foreign invaders, to print currency, to establish postal roads and routes. Hello? We didn't say you can get into our lives. Unbelievable. Let's do this. Eric, I'll continue with him. He says, I saw this quote today from one of our founding fathers, and I find it to be simple and true. And that is also just what a great statement, Eric. Truth is often found in very simple statements and facts. Here is the quote that Eric is giving us. A well-instructed people alone can be a permanently free people. James Madison. A well-instructed people. There you go. A well-instructed, a well-informed, a well-educated. When our nation was founded, it started with King George being a tyrannical asshole. King George, tyrannical asshole, hurting the American colonist people. The American colonies said, fuck you, independence, Declaration of Independence. Fought the Revolutionary War, won the Revolutionary War, created the Articles of Confederation, created after that the United States Constitution, formed a government. And one of the most important aspects of all of this was education. That every American should attain a general education. That is K through 12. That's how it's developed. As Eric has quoted, a well-instructed people. Instruction. Once again, teachers, educators, they're not having to make up the math as they go. It's right there in a book. They're not having to make up the teaching of the Constitution. It's right there in a book. And the Constitution is actually a very thin book, folks. It's very simple to understand. If you want to get into minutia and philosophy, read the Federalist Papers. If you want to hear the complaints, read the Declaration of Independence. It's all, in truth, very simple. A well-instructed or a well-informed people who understand what tyranny is, what tyranny does, and how tyranny will affect them. A well-instructed people will be permanently a free people. Permanently, how can they be permanently free? Because they know what government is and they keep government in line. What do we have today? We have people who are poorly educated, poorly instructed, poorly informed. Hence, they vote Democrat. Hence, they vote for rhino Republicans. We should be voting for the most radical, freedom-minded people who say the United States Constitution set up a good government. We don't need any more help from the government in our lives than that. You do your job, we will be free people. Government, over here, small. People, we're the ones in charge. Anyways, Eric, thank you very much for the super chat donation. Thank you for bringing the wisdom of the founding fathers here to the Prepared Mind channel. We got Red Pill Files checking in with a 556 super chat donation. And he says, how about the Oklahoma National Guard rejecting Jojo, Gigi, Bobo, Biden, Brandon's juice mandate? The general, that is the general in charge of the Oklahoma National Guard, he sent a letter saying, no complying, no comprendo. He's saying, yeah, we're not complying. 10,000 National Guard troops, those are patriots. Folks, there's an interesting way that things work. Human beings tend to look to someone that they respect, someone who is in charge, someone with more experience, knowledge. So in the military, you look to your senior officers and your senior enlisted men, your staff NCOs, your sergeant majors, master sergeants, first sergeants, even your gunny. You look to those guys and you say, hey, or hey, general, colonel, what do we do with this? It's good to see someone with a general on their lapel. It's good to see a general officer saying we're not going to comply with an unlawful order. And so that frees up the 10,000 National Guard troops to do as they wish with their own body. He's not saying that National Guardsmen are prohibited from taking the Jim Jones juice. He's saying the National Guard leadership is not going to force people to do something. Once again, folks, what happened to the Nazis at the end of World War II? They were tried in the Nuremberg trials for war crimes. And they said, hey, we're just Nazis just following orders. And they said, no, doing things that are immoral, unethical, unconscionable is illegal, regardless of whether you got orders. So what the general there in Oklahoma is saying is he thinks it's immoral, unethical, and unconscionable to force people to do something against their will. When you are part of the military, you recognize the fact that you have joined a fighting force whose job, the primary two jobs, is to kill people and break things. That's what war is about. Killing the enemy and breaking all their shit so they can't fight. So when you sign up for that, your orders may tell you to go do that. In other words, you have knowingly agreed to be put in the position to go shoot people and blow shit up. Interesting, eh? So knowing that, seeing that, right, is one thing. But joining the National Guard or joining the military to go blow things up and break things, right, and kill people, and then being told, you know, we're going to make medical decisions for you, or we're going to throw you in the brig, we're going to lock you in Leavenworth, we're going to give you a dishonorable discharge, we're going to ruin your life if you don't comply with it. It's wrong. It's immoral, unethical, unconscionable. It's a violation of their rights. It's unlawful. Therefore, it's illegal. And this general, I give massive, massive respect to, because he is the general over the National Guard of an entire state. And he is looking upwards where there's supposed to be leadership and seeing none and saying, no, we're not doing it. I'm not following unlawful orders. God bless the man. And those underneath him, even if they've gotten the Jim Jones juice, are probably going to respect the man for standing up for what he believes. Right? Let people make their own healthcare decisions. All right, we got Dior's back with 30-06. Pow! A 30-06 super chat donation. He says, John, I just renewed my Federal Motor Carrier Safety medical card for my Class A CDL. I can tell you that without a doubt that they did not ask me about my hokey pokey status. Anyone who says otherwise is spreading disinformation. That is terrific to know, Dior's. Thank you very much. So in order to get your Federal Motor Carrier Safety medical card for a Class A license, they are not requiring you to do that, to get the Jim Jones juice. What I think the complaint is that I'm hearing is that corporations, trucking corporations that have 100 or more employees, those companies that are trying to comply with the Xi Biden mandate, they're going to their truck drivers, these are trucking corporations, and saying, you're required to get the Jim Jones juice or you are fired. But they're not being denied licenses by the motor vehicle departments. So that's not the government, that's the government using business to force the people to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do. Oh, and here we do. We've got Escape with Jay. Jay, thank you very much for your cooperation on the backside with all the projects we're working on there. He says, hey, John, wishing everyone a good week. Don't let the crazies get you down. This is very important, folks. Don't let the crazies get you down. There's a lot of crazies out there, and there's a lot of crazies doing things, whether it's the Biden administration or the state administration, the state in which you're at, whether it's gruesome Gavin Newsom, or whether it's Gretchen the Grinch up in Michigan, or the fat ass prickster in Illinois, or crazy screwball Cuomo #2, who's now in charge of New York State. Don't let these people get you down. Keep your energy up, keep your optimism up. Folks, we know who the bad guys are. Now, it would be different if we didn't know who the bad guys are. Right? If we didn't have a clue, who are the bad guys? We'd be very suspicious of everybody. We know who the bad guys are. They're in DC. You know who the bad corporations are. They've now stated who they are. Your neighbors, your state government, your neighbors, people around you, you know who the bad guys are. Avoid them. Give them the middle finger. Right? Say, let's go Brandon, or fuck Joe Biden to them. Fight back. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Do all that, but also prep to action. Start taking action. Share this video with others. Share all the videos with others. If you're here, subscribe. If you like everything and you want to be even more well-informed, join Patreon, because we have a shit pile of information over there that I can't even talk about here. But you know who the enemy is. You know what freedom's all about, and if that's what you want, you're going to have to start taking some action on your own behalf. Protect your children. If you can, get them out of school and do a homeschooling thing. Protect your parents. They're being victimized, folks, by all of these authoritative mandates. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We got Stretches in with a $10 super chat donation. Says, I welcome your thoughts on the current China saber rattling, including the weekend's threats towards Australia. Is it for real? Then there's the Russian border massing with Ukraine. What the fuck? Thanks, man. I'll tell you what. It is all real and it is all theater, all at the same time. And I want to point to history. Whenever the people become unruly, whenever the leaders, the elites, feel the need, they go to war, right? If the economy tanks, typically war follows because they don't want the people hungry, pissed off, and looking who's in charge, who fucked all this up, and then them blaming them and getting rid of them. They learned a big lesson with King Louis during the French Revolution. They learned a big lesson with King George. But King Louis lost his head. So did a lot of aristocrats. The aristocracy were murdered by their own people, not just in France, but in other countries as well, because they were in charge and they got the blame. So you don't want people starving, out of work, hungry, scared, etc. You want them working, productive, and taken care of. Well, they've messed the system up, folks. They crashed the economy. They fucked it all up. They're a bunch of greedy pricks. That is the governments and the major corporations and the banks, the investment houses. They fucked it all up. And so they dumped Cerveza bug on top of us. And they're trying to quarantine us and keep us scared and quiet. But if they fail in their mission, folks, to control us with fear, they always have war to fall back on and say, hey, country A, we're country B, and we need to fight for a little bit. We need to kill some people off while we reset our economy, try and fix some things, and then remind them that if it wasn't for government, we would be invaded by you because you're that other bad country. So Australia and China are incredible enemies and incredible allies all at the same time. How is that possible? How is my enemy my friend and my friend my enemy? Doesn't make any sense to me. Russia right now is being threatened by some NATO countries. This again is the very rich people working with the very elite people to convince the people of the world that Russia is the enemy. At the same time, Russia is the friend of Europe. That's right, Russia is the friend of Europe. What do I mean by that? Well, Russia is keeping Europeans and their businesses from freezing to death. Russia sends an incredible amount of energy, gas, oil into Europe. So why would they feel this way, right? Well, saber rattling, as you pointed out. That is a lot of threats, a lot of bullshit, military training. We've got Germany joining with Japan, which reminds me of World War II. Germany joining with Japan on some military exercises up there with China. Governments, when they start failing, folks, when their economies fail, they feel like we could be invaded. They feel threatened. That also, the government leaders feel like we could be thrown out of office. We need to make the people believe that we have important jobs and we should keep our jobs. And so governments tend to, as I said, start wars to make themselves a necessary part of the picture. They don't want to be blamed for the problems. They want to be looked to for the solutions. Except in today, all we get from the government is more problems, not solutions. They created the cerveza bug problem. If you look at who funded it, who released it, how it was responded to, the lies about you need to wear this, you don't need to wear that, all the lies. And it's not going to be mandated. Now it's mandated. You just need it one time. Nope, now you need it. You're going to have to get boosters. All of the bullshit, folks. It's all a bunch of lies. It's used to control us, to scare us, to fool us. Because the people in charge want to continue to be in charge and continue to make a bunch of money. And worst case scenario is they'll actually go to war with someone who is both their ally and their enemy. And that is not a new thing. And I'm going to bring up one more example because that's how I roll. In history, folks, it's full of examples. Did you know that Standard Oil provided an essential fuel component to the Nazis so that their plane engines would operate? And that without that fuel additive, they wouldn't have had a Luftwaffe. That is, they wouldn't be able to bomb the ever-loving shit out of European countries, including London, England. I believe Ford Motor Company supplied trucks as well as engines and other equipment to the Nazis. Did you know that Adolf Hitler had a picture, a portrait of Henry Ford on his wall? Very much admired the man. They were great friends as far as their institutional idealism. We'll just put it that way. That's right, folks. If Germany was our enemy and we were fighting them, how is it that we were providing them with necessary components? And did you know that Ford Motor Company sued the United States government for the military bombing of Ford factories in Germany? Whoops-a-daisy. Things they don't talk about in school. Things that only certain history books have recorded for posterity. They throw away those old books, folks. They burn them. They introduce new books with great ideas like the white founding fathers of America were fascist white supremacists and we need to get rid of them. How is it that they explain these left-wing lunatics in school, these teachers? How do they explain to students that a bunch of white supremacists started this country and it's taken 250 years for us to figure it out? All right. CFS checks in with a $4.99 super chat donation. Says, will they allow the 2022 midterm elections, or will the elections be suspended due to extenuating factors, conditions, circumstances? Scary thought. In all truth, CFS, that is becoming a bigger and bigger threat. It was heavily surmised by the political left that Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, was going to suspend or cancel the 2020 elections in an effort to steal the elections. Well, President Trump did not steal the election, did he? It was also questioned and guessed back in 2018, as well as the 2016 election, that it would never be allowed. Back in 2016, it was Barack Obama wants to stay in office and he won't leave office. And so he'll suspend the election, suspend the Constitution. That's always a fear, but it is growing worse. For example, after the 2020 election, the Speaker of the House, 90-proof Nancy Pelosi, put up a barbed wire barricade, fencing, concrete, barbed wire, as well as National Guard troops, armed National Guard troops in Washington, D.C., armed National Guard troops to protect Congress from apparently nobody. And if there was, I believe, any violence in the streets of Washington, D.C. involving armed military forces, paramilitary forces, etc., trying to get into there, Congress would run like a bunch of scared children with their hair on fire, running like their hair was on fire and their asses were catching, because they know that they are part of a very unloved system of government. They're a bunch of chicken shit cowards. Bob Zenko checks in with a 762 super chat donation. And he says this: John, continue the clarion call. I'm continuing, brother. I am not quitting. You guys with your super chat donation, one after another, folks, they add up and they keep me in this illustrious chair, continuing to do what I do, which I never thought I would be doing, folks. 30 years ago, listening to Rush Limbaugh. 25 years ago, listening to Rush Limbaugh, I thought, well, that would be an interesting job, doing political commentary, social commentary, educational commentary, financial commentary, military commentary, geopolitical commentary, philosophical commentary, comedy, and everything else. I never thought I would be doing that as part of who I am. Well, here I am, folks. Anyway, he says, continue the clarion call. Campers, please share these videos and wake people up. It will be a tough road. Persevere. We'll take our republic back. And I think that last statement, Bob, is important. We will take our republic back, meaning we have lost our republic. And I'm going to agree with Bob. Our republic has been lost. Government does not respect the First Amendment to the Constitution. Political appointees, political electees, as high up as those like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro Obama, they believe there are limits to the First Amendment. In fact, if you are what they consider to be their political opponent, you have no First Amendment right. You have to shut the fuck up, STFU. They don't, there's limits to the First Amendment, they think, folks, that misinformation they can outlaw and they can tell corporations don't allow, while they themselves, the purveyors of perversion in Washington, D.C., whether they be in the Supreme Court, Congress, or the White House, or the Pentagon, they lie to us. They lie to us in the CIA and the FBI. They lie to us, folks. Absolutely lie to us. Remember that guy, Ruby Rod Rosenstein? Well, guess what? The latest indictment that's come out has revealed that Ruby Rod Rosenstein of the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Ruby Rod Rosenstein of the Department of Justice, he lied and withheld information from the House investigators on the Steele dossier, the fake Russia documents that were supposedly showing a link between President Trump and Russia. That's right, folks. Ruby Rod lied and withheld information. Well, so did everyone else. We can't trust them, folks. These people that are in charge, they've lost the republic. We've lost our freedoms and liberties, the First Amendment. They're trying to take away our Second Amendment right of self-defense. The Fourth and Fifth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, They've trashed it. Not me and you, folks. People in government. The courts somehow lost the ability to read English and now have to read the Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence. They have to read the Bill of Rights and somehow magically come up with interpretations. Somewhere in there, they decided abortion is real. Somewhere in there, they decided you don't deserve a quick and speedy trial, that habeas corpus can be suspended, that they can lock you up in an internment camp, a concentration camp, because there's an emergency. Somehow they keep finding all of these special ways that they can go about mandating that we, me and you, do stuff. They can lie to us, and they call it fact. They can tell us we're not allowed to lie and call us, the purveyors of truth, misinformation. Steve Conlon is back with another £10 super chat donation. And he says, there is no need for war. If you have had the Jim Jones juice, you will be dead in 2 years. Steve, it's looking like you are more right than wrong. Now, let me paint a picture for you. And I'm going to carry the idea that Steve has given us. If you were given Jim Jones juice and told it was going to help you, and it turns out that it doesn't, and that it wears off, and that your immune system is weaker, and that you have to go get more fancy Jim Jones juice, and then that in turn will also wear out, and your immune system will be even weaker. So you're told you need to go get more Jim Jones juice, more Kool-Aid, more zombie juice, and every time you take it, your immune system gets weaker and weaker. At some point, folks, your immune system fails. It utterly fails. Now, I'm going to remind you of an old disease. It's been around for 40 years. It's called AIDS, autoimmune disease or autoimmune disorder syndrome. AIDS, autoimmune disorder syndrome. AIDS. What we were told is that if you're gay and you go doing the old butt ramaroo, you can catch AIDS, and it's transmitted through homosexual activity, which they never came out and said isn't true. So you can get AIDS that way. And what AIDS does is it shuts down your immune system. What do you die from when your immune system shuts down? You're susceptible to pneumonia, right? You get upper respiratory infections. You get bronchitis, you get pneumonia, your lungs fill up with water, and you die. AIDS, right? Your immune system breaks down. You can catch the common cold becomes deadly. The flu becomes deadly. The flu becomes deadly. Any flu becomes deadly when you have AIDS, right? Your body can't fight off infection, bacterial infection, sepsis. Oh, yeah, I remember a couple weeks ago, President Clinton went to the hospital because he had a sepsis issue. Anyways, AIDS, immune disorder, right? Autoimmune, your system shuts down. You can't fight off any disease. You get a nice scratch, you get an infection, it goes sepsis, you die. That's AIDS. So we're being told now that the Jim Jones juice only works for a little while. Then you have to get another one and another one and another one because your immune system can't fight off what's happening. My immune system is pretty fucking stout. And I haven't taken the Jim Jones juice. So maybe those who have are going to keel off at greater and greater numbers. And we've been told by the man himself, Dr. Fauci. He is the authority. He has said that booster shots are going to be part of the program, not a bonus, not a luxury, part of the program for those who have taken the Jim Jones juice. It sounds a lot like AIDS. Sounds a lot like there's going to be a lot of people out there with autoimmune disorders. It's a syndrome. Oh, by the way, back in the 1980s, Dr. Fauci was working with the government, and he was a big spokesman about AIDS. Dr. Fauci knows an awful lot about AIDS and immune systems and autoimmune disorders. And he's been working within this community for well over 35 years, folks. Dr. Fauci has been working in this area, attaining knowledge, working with many labs, doing experiments, trying to figure out how the immune system works. And now we have the Jim Jones juice. Whoopee. Where do I sign up for that? We got my crazy uncle with a $10 super chat donation. Thank you again, crazy uncle. He says, Whew, that's some good scotch. And folks, by the way, we're well up over 1,100 viewers live right now. I want to thank you guys for showing up. Hit subscribe. And if you can, get over to Patreon, $2 a month, 7 cents a day. Get signed up. Get a lot more information than I can share right here. What's happening, folks, with the Jim Jones juice and what's happening? Whew, nasty information out there, only available on Patreon. Now, back to Crazy Uncle. He says, my boss just showed me a clip from, quote, Utopia, a movie, I guess, 2020, where a shaft is given to stop a harmless... Let me back up and translate Crazy Uncle's writing into language we all understand. In the movie Utopia, there is a Jim Jones juice given to stop a harmless virus, and the Jim Jones juice causes infertility in 19 out of 20 people. He is mad I might be right about the real life thing that's going on. My thoughts, if a scientific writer can think of it, typically it becomes a scientific fact years later. A lot of people call this predictive programming. Like over here is government and secret operations and research and development in medicine or aerospace or military. Over here are a bunch of people who have a little information about this sector, and they take that and go, well, what if it could do this? And what if it could do that? And they write a story around it. So someone wrote around the idea that there are some medications that can be given to people that cause sterility. Now, just a few years back, Bill Gates was being sued. He is not loved in India and many African nations because they were given, folks, medicine over in those countries, and people died, and people became sterile, infertile, unable to have children as a consequence of the medicines that were provided by the Gates Foundation. Yeah, stuff like that. So people write a book, a story, and it becomes a movie where it's not just a little known story off over here. It is now a front and center type concept in movies, in television shows, because it's possible and it's very scary and realistic, and therefore they can make an exciting movie. There's a lot to be learned from movies, folks, that have dystopian material. That is to say, out of this world ideas and concepts where the world we knew no longer exists in their movie. The scariest part of all of this is the world we knew from 10 years ago, where the Constitution was good, our founding fathers were good, the rules, the Bill of Rights were all good. Most Americans believed it. And in 10 years, look at how many people have been drugged, fooled, corrupted, now believing that the government should do whatever it wants and that there are no restrictions. In other words, we now have a dystopian government in Washington, D.C. It is not a constitutional republic. Yes, we've lost our republic. Can we win it back? Yeah, I believe it's possible. It's going to take years and years, and it won't be easy, and it's going to really suck. If that doesn't happen, there are going to be many states that try breaking away from the evil, corrupt, fascist government in Washington, D.C. We got Tim Humphers with a $5 super chat donation, says, let's go, Brandon. Tell you what, folks, let's go, Brandon. And I'll even go a little further and say, fuck Joe Biden. And that's not just talking about Joe Biden, folks, because what is Joe Biden? He's a puppet. Puppet master has strings on Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't speak a word that the puppet masters don't want. And when he tries speaking words the puppet masters don't want, guess what? They rush him, they cut the microphone, they rush him out, they chase the press out when Joe Biden starts getting off and thinking he has his own opinion. In other words, when you say, let's go, Brandon, or fuck Joe Biden, you're saying not only fuck the out-of-control, unconstitutional Washington, D.C. government and its leader, Joe Biden, you're also telling the puppet masters, you guys can go fuck yourselves. It's going to get nasty, folks. It's not going to get better. And let's go, Brandon. Brad Junes with a $2 super chat donation says this: can the UFO Society keep peace on our planet? It depends on which authority you're talking about. Right? The UFO Society, are you talking about the Space Force? There seems to be quite a bit of controversy around the U.S. Space Force, whether or not it's an actual United States government-funded organization or whether it's something a little different, whether it's completely independent. And then there's the Galactic Federation of Light, which is supposed to be a federation of extraterrestrial societies that are trying to bring the world, the Earth, up to their standards so that we can join the Federation. And of course, there's good guys and bad guys and all that. And then there's the UFO Society, involving hybridized human beings who have the ability to control the minds of others through a form of mental telekinesis, that is, implanting thoughts and controlling people directly, being able to read your mind, etc. Hasn't worked on me, has it? At least not to my knowledge. I seem to be saying things that I like to say, but maybe I am being controlled. Maybe you're all being controlled. Maybe, I don't know, folks. I wish I had the answers. I know that there's a lot of crazy shit out there. The UFO card, then there's the other UFO card, which is the governments of the world faking an alien invasion by some sort of alien culture society and proclaiming them to be the bad guys, and then using that as an excuse to have total martial law, suspension of all constitutions and rules, and government control at the highest levels with no need for the people to vote or have a say in anything because, right, alien invasion. Brad, I wish I had the answers, man. I do not, but I like to look into everything. Me personally, if I get free time, I like to spend it on some more interesting subjects. Not all the time, but enough that I keep the wheels turning and understanding that it's really hard. It's really hard to know what the truth is because we've been lied to so very much. We got Breaking the Matrix with a 1776 super chat donation. Tell you what, folks, you make a super chat donation, I'll make you famous. So Breaking the Matrix says this: prices on everything are rising because we are witnessing the initial effects of the fiat dollar imploding, not a run-of-the-mill inflation. Stock all metals to the rafters. I'll tell you what, Breaking the Matrix, I'm going to agree with you very much on this. When you say stock all metals to the rafters, I'm going to tell you, go to thepreparedmind.club. We have links to ammunition, links to self-defense tools. We have links to the Berkey water filter through My Patriot Supply, Thrive Foods. We've got doctors. If you scroll all the way past the pretty pictures and get to just the words, right, we've got access to online doctors who can get you the prescriptions that I'm not allowed to talk about. In fact, over the weekend, I continue to get more reports from more friends who have had their standard doctors, regular doctors, old doctors who have been around, doctors whose names I remember back in California, doctors everywhere, who are regular MDs, general practitioners, family doctors, who are prescribing the medications I'm not allowed to talk about for the treatment of cerveza bug. And those people have reported to me that they're feeling better. How about that, folks? They lie to us about everything. What makes you think they're not lying now? Augie sending a $10 super chat donation to PayPal. Thank you, Augie, very, very much. Steve Conlon is back with another 10-pound super chat donation. And he says, as a retired government employee in jolly old England, working under the Official Secret Act, let me tell you, this was planned in 2017. That is scary as fuck, Steve. I'll tell you why. Because you worked for the government of England. And you worked for the official, right, under the Official Secrecy Act or Secret Act. What we've seen leak here over in the United States of America supports that, because in 2018, Dr. F. Doom, Bill Gates, and many others have been discussing a global pandemic which was going to come about somehow, and it would cause all the things that have been happening for the past 18 months to happen. Folks, this has been scripted. All of this is scripted. It is scripted by the government. The illnesses have been created well in advance. The ultimate cure actually creates AIDS-like effects. At the very least, illness that has to be controlled with a lifelong government-provided medication. Some of the side effects will be sterility, severely damaged coronary and pulmonary systems. Folks, cerveza bug and everything that's come about has been scripted, planned. The research was all done decades and decades ago. Some of the early experiments, as we've been talked about and given other diseases, other names. I don't like what is being done to us. Now, I really do appreciate you coming out and saying that, Stephen, very much, sir, that you were a government employee in England working for Her Majesty under the Official Secret Act. We've had a lot of American whistleblowers come out and say this has all been planned. It's been planned around the world, folks. The baddies, the bad guys have wanted to do this a long time. They finally got all their ducks in a row, and here we are. You and I, whether you're in jolly old England, Ireland, Scotland, whether you're in the Netherlands with Remy, whether you're right, whether you're in Norway with Gear, whether you're in Canada with Luke, right, whether you're in Mexico with Carlos, all of us here in America, Australia, etc. We are the X factor, the free humans who don't want to go along to get along. We're the fly in their ointment. We're the problem for them. They have known we would be the problem the whole way. And I want to bring this up, Steve. I don't know what your job was or who you worked for exactly in Her Majesty's government, but I do know that they knew we would be a problem. They knew from the very beginning we would be a problem. They were hoping that they could get rid of us, that they could convince as many of us to take their marvelous elixir. It's certainly not the lapis, it's not that elixir. It's not the drink of life. They knew there was a certain segment of the population that they would be able to control, and they're controlling them. And they're now going to be able to scare them some more and tell them, you get the booster plan for the rest of your life. And hopefully you don't die. The more people that die from it, though, folks, the more people that die from complications, that die from the Jim Jones juice, that die, the more of them that die, the more they're going to yell and scream that it is you and I that are the problem, that we're the enemy. Screw your freedoms. We're going to lock you up. We're going to quarantine you. You're the problems. See, the worse their problems get, or rather, the worse the problems get for the people, the more the government will say, we need more power and control. It is a self-fulfilling Hegelian dialect and prophecy. That is, the government creates the problem. They offer the solution, which makes the problem even worse. So they offer more solution, demand more power and authority, which has been their goal all along. It has all been planned. All of these are pre-planned actions. They're pre-planned. I don't want to say simulations, but they're live. They've gone live with all of their training and plans. They have for decades now used crisis actors to stage major catastrophic events so that the government can see the reaction of the people. They can see the reaction of law enforcement, first responders, reaction of the military, so they can train better so that when they go live with the program, they have the best odds of being successful in them, the government, succeeding in their Hegelian dialect of continuously creating crisis so they can offer the solution to create more crisis, to offer the solution to create more crisis, ultimately making them a restriction-free source of authority. That is, no constitutional rule to hold them in place. In other words, government run amok. Mr. Prepper steps in with a $9.99 super chat donation. And he says this, it's been a while, but have awakened from my slumber. Should I be leaning towards lead or silver? Thanks for all you do, brother. I'll tell you what, Mr. Prepper, when we were told to stock up on all valuable metals, that included brass, copper, and lead, as well as, well, gold and silver. I'm not a big fan of platinum, and I think it becomes very difficult to store bulk copper. But but I do like copper jacketed lead, which requires a bit of brass and some cold blue steel. Now, I say you need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense with your plan to deal with the SHTF that has been created by government. But in our world, right, there's you and then this 10-mile radius around you. If shit gets really nasty, fuel stops, food stops, electricity stops, water stops, right? If goods and services come to a grinding halt and people can't get what they need to survive, it'll get nasty. That 10-mile radius around you is where you have to survive. And you will need, in addition to food, water, shelter, clothing, and medicine, you'll need that self-defense. Now, if you have if you have all the items you're going to need, right? Your pew-pews and your bang-bangs. If you have all of that you need, then storing wealth outside of the electronic financial monetary system, it's advisable. I don't give direct advice to anybody. I say in general, it would seem to be advisable. So I can't give anyone specifics and say, yes, invest in silver because it is the most single undervalued commodity on the market today. And it's the second most useful item on the whole planet as far as technology, industry, military, and government. Silver, folks. After oil, which creates energy, fuel, lubricants, plastics. Medicine comes out of oil, folks. A lot of components of medicine come from oil, believe it or not. Oil is incredibly beneficial for our way of life, but so is silver. And silver is something you can buy, and it is very undervalued. So as things get worse, The dollar goes down because of inflation caused by the crash of the financial system and the massive printing, as another questioner brought up earlier. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he said, hey, we got big inflation. Damn right we got big inflation. So the value of things that are real are going up. That means the value of the unreal money is going down. So do you have all of your prepper items? Do you want a bunch of cash in the bank? I don't know. It may be advisable to have a bunch of cash on hand, you know, enough to, like, you know, in case the ATM machine stop working or the telephone line stop working, or, you know, the internet goes down because of an act of terror by some organization with authority to do that. Woo! We got Victor checking in with 545 super chat donation. The 545. He says, hello, back in the U.S. now. Well, welcome back, Victor. Semper Fi, man. He says, was in Tbilisi. I can't say that right. I apologize. Was in Tbilisi since the end of June, taking care of life. Met expatriates there who fled the fall of the Republic. Want a pack of Russian smokes? The answer to that is I would love a pack of Russian smokes, very much. You know how to get it to us, I believe. So yes. And by the way, the Russian or Russian Republic MREs, they went to good use. They were all consumed. And thank you very much, Victor. Folks, there's a lot of people who are fleeing America. They're fleeing Democrat cities for Republican cities. They're leaving Democrat cities for Republican county, rural areas, and leaving for Republican states like Texas, Louisiana. They're heading to Republican areas in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. They're heading to Florida. They're heading to the Carolinas. They're heading to Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma. They're heading to West Virginia. They're heading into, well, shit, Virginia is now a red state again. They're heading to the rural areas of states that have mottos like live free or die. Areas of California and Oregon are saying, we think we're part of Idaho now. It's incredible what's happening in this country, folks. Not only that, there are people who are literally leaving the country altogether. The problem I had with that was I asked the question, hey, John, where are you going to go? I asked myself, I said, self, where are you going to go? Well, I went to the RMZ, and I was like, well, I'm at the RMZ. You know, I could swing in a hammock all day and, play reindeer games with the rooster. I could listen to the frogs and battle mosquitoes, but there's probably more important things in my life that need to get done. And so I came back. I got the fuck back, and I'm staying back. And you guys are making it possible by supporting my efforts with super chat donations. If I don't get super chat donations, I go get a 9-to-5 job and I have to quit doing this. But because you guys support our efforts so well, I get to do this. This is what I do. I bring you information on a daily basis. We've got the preparedmind.club, your superstore, folks, for all things medical, prepping, food, body armor, communications gear, everything prepping, folks, we take care of there. That's your superstore. You pay for it, right? You pay for all of the subscriptions that we have so I can gather information from many, many sources. And then you guys directly provide information, which is just amazing. I tell you, we're rolling up on the 2-hour mark. If you guys have more topics, get in that super chat donation. I got some things that I want to bring up. I got some things that I want to bring up as well that I think are critical to understand. I talked about how the Biden administration has used the OSHA organization, the OSHA bureaucracy, which they're not cops, but they show up at your business and say, you violated our rules and we're going to give you a fine. An example of that is a friend of mine is a roofing contractor. As you guys know, I'm a general contractor, licensed in the state of California. And I had a roofing contractor that did work for me. Well, after I left California, he said, John, I was up on the roof and somebody caught us on film walking around without the proper safety harness. OSHA showed up, looked at the film, and fined me $5,000. Just like that. That's what bureaucracy does, folks. They fine the shit out of you. Don't pay your DMV bill? Fine. Don't pay your taxes fast enough? The IRS fines you. They just fine the fuck out of you. In other words, they fee or tax you. They call it a fine as if you're going, that's fine. No, a fine is a fee, is a tax. It's a punishment. So by threatening you with punishment, they control you. So OSHA thinks it can fine you, fee you, tax you, punish you, control you at the will and pleasure of Joe Biden's whims. Well, the Florida legislature is going to decide on whether or not the state of Florida should withdraw from OSHA's oversight and allow employees to sue over Biden's authoritarian mandates. Well, that special session is coming up this next week in Florida. And trust me, Governor DeSantis made this happen. He's helping make it happen. It takes, in order for proper laws, folks, don't we need a legislature and an executive, the governor or the president, to make laws and rules happen? Well, not in Joe Biden's world. He just comes up with a mandate, goes to the bureaucracy, sidesteps the entire political process, which is the de jure legal lawful government, and says, fuck it, we're going to rule by mandate. Of course, the Fifth Circuit says, look, you jackasses out there, you haven't got your shit straight, right? You admit you're doing that, trying to sidestep your authority or restrictions on your authority. And so they struck him down. Well, Florida can just say, guess what, OSHA, get the fuck out of our state. It is a sanctuary state from the federal government with respect to OSHA. How many more bureaucracies can states like Texas and Florida kick out of their state? I think it should be all of them. All federal bureaucracy, get the fuck out of the state. States have their own EPAs, their own environmental protection agencies, because they're all independent countries, folks. Did you know that? Independent except with respect to places where the states have authorized the federal government to act on their behalf. And OSHA is not one of those things. I don't believe the IRS is either. I don't think the federal government has jurisdiction in the states. I think that they should get rid of the IRS in Florida, Texas, and all the free states. Well, they're going to start with OSHA, folks. Expect shit to roll downhill. Expect there to be a serious response from Biden. I don't think that Governor DeSantis needs to say, well, actually, he said, let's go, Brandon. He just needs to say, hey, look, you're not needed. You're not necessary. We're a free and independent state or country, if you will. And it's going to get ugly. The feds are not going to like that. We've had this showdown before, folks, but we've never had the situation we have now, which is the people of the United States, the people of these United States, capital states, but not a capital U on United. The free states out here have had enough. All around the world, I don't know if you caught it over the weekend, all around the world, folks, from Australia to Austria, from France to Italy, everywhere, folks, people are protesting by the thousands and the tens of thousands against these authoritarian, unconstitutional, human rights violating rules and laws and mandates that all governments are trying to shove down their people's throats. Germany, Russia, name it, folks, anywhere that the government is acting in an authoritarian manner, people are protesting. We got Damian English back with another $5 super chat donation. And he says, don't ever hear you talk about suppressors. Might be wrong. Been looking into them. Your thoughts. YouTube no longer likes. Fuck Joe Biden. Let's go. Let's go, Brandon. Okay. Suppressors. What? For a while there, we were talking about people who were using solvent filters. A lot of people were filtering solvents with filters. A lot of people were getting into suppressor-like devices, and I've just backed away from it to find out what is going on. I wish I had more information on this. I am mostly concerned with people getting standard firearms, shotgun, rifle, pistol, and and adequate amounts of ammunition, as well as their other perhaps food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. Means, along with that means of self-defense. It has been of grave concern that people have that. YouTube no longer likes fuck Joe Biden. YouTube doesn't like a lot of things. The government doesn't like a lot of things. Big business doesn't like a lot of things. The bureaucracy doesn't like a lot of things, Damien. It's incredible the amount of pressure they're putting on us, the amount of punishment they're applying, trying to get us to behave, get us to acquiesce to their authority. And the more we say, fuck Joe Biden, the more we say, let's go Brandon. And the lady that came up with that, let's go Brandon, that's what the crowd is saying, let's go Brandon. I'm sure she eats shit every single day for it. And I say God bless her for giving us a non-profane laced way to say, fuck Joe Biden. Let's go Brandon. At some point, they're going to say, yeah, you're not allowed to say it. And, it's incredible. When you become ungovernable, the government understands how powerless they truly are. Because they only truly have power when they have the consent of us, the governed. Oh, by the way, I just got a email from dollarcollapse.com. Dollarcollapse.com, where they talk about the dollar taking an absolute shit. A lot of stuff going on, folks. We got For Freedom Writer. Talk about eyeballs. For Freedom Writer has become a YouTube member. Awesome, For Freedom Writer. And we want them, we want everyone participating in conversations, becoming a member of the Prepared Mind, especially at Patreon, using the preparedmind.club to get your supplies. And again, if you didn't catch the thing about growing a salad every day, it takes 5 days to grow a salad. You can grow a salad every day in your window with a mayonnaise jar with the appropriate lid. Jolene is looking into getting a way to buy the seeds from us, to buy the jars or whatever system it is, with instructions. And Clearwater Chris on YouTube. Clearwater Chris is doing videos on how to do this. You can prep her salad. And this pound per pound or ounce for ounce is 50 times. These are, he's told me about them, and I've talked to him at length. These are broccoli sprouts. They're 50 times more potent, ounce for ounce, than broccoli florets. You go buy broccoli at the store, this is 50 times more potent in the brain food, superfoods, vitamins that are part of this. It's incredible, folks, what's going on. You need to get prepared and understand there's going to be serious interruptions in our food supplies. Mr. Skylight checks in with a $99.99 super chat donation. He does so at the 2-hour mark. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for the efforts, the information, everything you provide. It's just, folks, I can't do it without you. I can't. And this is what Mr. Skylight says. He says, you're on the case, Mr. Holmes. I tell you what, we are all on the case. We're investigating what is going on. And if you're not going to do it for you, do it for your children, your family, your friends, everyone you love. Find out the truth. What is going on out there? Thank you again, Mr. Skylight. Every week you're here. Every day you send me valuable information. Thank you, sir. There's many that I couldn't do without. The great commercials you saw at the beginning, those came from Mr. T. People are joining the Prepared Mind Network on YouTube, on Patreon. They're going to the preparedmind.club to get the supplies they need to be prepared. And you're getting ready. You're hardening yourself. You're getting in good physical shape. You're arming yourselves with valuable information. You're coming to understand, is government my friend or is government my foe? Are my neighbors my friends or are my neighbors my foe? We're all figuring this out, folks. Figuring out what we're going to need to eat. What are the bad guys doing to our food? Well, they're cutting our food off. They're threatening to put poison in it. Impossible Meat, by the way, folks, took a giant shit last week. The stock price for Impossible Meat, which is soy protein loaded with lots of plant estrogens combined with yeast vomit, which tastes like cow blood, so that Impossible Meat tastes like real meat. Well, Americans have rejected it. They don't like the Impossible Meats. Good. It's garbage, in my opinion. Sheesh. Don't buy their Impossible Meat. Don't buy their fake soybean protein. Don't buy their fake foods, folks. Buy good rice, buy good beans, buy good spices, buy canned meats. We're getting on this as quick as they can. Chris at Clearwater Chris on YouTube has spent an awful lot of time researching this for months, saying, you know what? I mean, we could go mow the lawn and eat the grass. We could all do that, just go mow the lawn and eat the grass. Or we could find very quick growing, extremely nutritious, vitamin and nutrient loaded. What? He found these sprouts thing and he's been growing them and figuring out a system, trying to find the most cost effective way to grow this. And I found out, essentially for like a quarter a day, you can grow a nutrient packed salad. So you got your salad and then you need some meat, a little bit of rice and beans, some spices, and you've taken care of your food. Unbelievable. We got Daniel Haas with a 30-06 super chat donation, 30-06, 30.06. A fantastic round. If you get what I mean. Yeah, it is. The 30-06 is devastating. It's kind of like a 308 or 762 on steroids, the 30-06. I tell you, I like the 270. I like the 7mm Remington. I like the 25. I like them all, but for a variety of different reasons. But essentially, all calibers allow you to become like AT&T. They allow you to reach out and touch someone. All right, this is what David Haas has to say. How do we deal with local law enforcement when they begin to enforce tyrannical rules? It's soft tyranny already. This is a touchy subject, I would assume. David, Daniel Haas. Daniel, it is a very touchy subject. We at the Prepared Mind Network are in touch with many people in law enforcement, security, and the military. It's important to note that many people in law enforcement are constitutional minded. They respect the Second Amendment and they love their guns. Okay? They respect your Second Amendment right. Now, it's also important to note that there are many in law enforcement who hate you having a gun. There are many in law enforcement who think that you should kiss their ass. There are many in law enforcement that think they're part of the winning team, the government team that is, immune from the rules, that the rules don't apply to them, that they as law enforcement can fuck with you and ruin your life, that they could pull you over anytime they want and give you a ton of tickets, make your life miserable, arrest you for the slightest appearance of committing a crime. So there's good cop, bad cop, in other words. A lot of law enforcement who were kind of, I want to use the term marginal with regard to thinking about the government as needing to be restricted. A lot of law enforcement is now realizing that government should be restricted. They're like, hey, I, as a law enforcement officer, don't want to take the Jim Jones juice. And you're telling me you're going to make me take it? No, thank you. And so they're quitting. They're transferring to police departments or sheriff's offices in free states, the red states and red counties and red cities. They're finding out, folks, all of us, that none of us are on the winning team unless we're all on the same team of freedom. As far as if we could go back to that just a little bit longer, Jolene, and I do want to thank Jolene and Uman. Jolene is behind the scenes every day, folks, 7 days a week. She busts her ass taking care of all of us. Uman works incredibly hard in his professional life, and he takes his personal time to come here and help me, help you, help us. There's an incredible amount of effort behind the scenes that goes on, and I want to thank Uman and Jolene especially for what they do. Daniel's saying, how do we deal with local law enforcement when they begin to enforce tyrannical laws? My recommendation is you don't wait until they're enforcing tyrannical laws. You start talking to them now. You talk to the officers that you see in restaurants and on the street, and you say, hey, you know, what do you think of gun control? You can ask them that. You don't have to be belligerent. You don't have to quote the Constitution or any legal precedent. You can just say, dude, if shit hits the fan here and people start shooting each other, what are you guys going to do? Ask them. They'll tell you. They'll probably tell you, well, I'm not getting in the fucking way of that. Or they'll tell you, well, I'm going to go and start arresting people. Right? I mean, you can ask them, if shit hits the fan really bad and people start shooting each other, do I, as a civilian, have a right to defend myself? And they'll tell you what they think. You can ask them. They're really just people. They might ask you some questions. Well, you know, did you serve in the military? They might ask you, do you work for the government? They may ask you, why do you give a shit? Why you think that that's a problem? They could ask you if you're a prepper. They could ask you all kinds of questions. I'm not afraid to talk to law enforcement at all. Me personally, I met lots of law enforcement and bureaucrats and military police and the like. And for the most part, have a good old time talking to them. Sometimes you'll find the ones that just don't particularly care for us having guns. Those are the Democrats. You know, I talk to Democrats who aren't law enforcement, who think that I shouldn't have the ability to defend myself. Now, those same Democrats will tell you they, one, have guns, two, they should be allowed to have guns because they're good communists and they are responsible communists. And every good, responsible communist I ever know of in history has murdered people that don't agree with them politically, because that's what a good communist does. They murder non-communists. Back to law enforcement. It's probably a good idea to understand what your local law enforcement thinks of the Second Amendment. You can go to your local police station and ask them and say, I've heard that, whatever you've heard about your neighborhood. You know, I've heard that there's a lot of crack dealers around here. I've heard there's a lot of drug dealers. If they start shooting people, if things get bad, what are you guys going to do about it? You can ask them that. A lot of people really are afraid to talk to law enforcement. They're afraid that they could be arrested or harassed or they'll be put on a list. I get it. What's most important for me to understand, Daniel, is that I know the law. I know my rights. I know that I have a right to live just like everyone else. I have the same right to live that a crack dealer has. So if a crack dealer tries taking my life, I have a right to defend myself. I know that I have the same right to life that a policeman has. So that if a policeman is acting outside his authority, that if he's acting under color of law and he's doing so unlawfully, that I have the same right to life he has. I have the same right to life that a politician has. I have the same right to life that the Queen of England has. I have the same right to life. God has granted me life. Said, there you go, kid. Do something with it. I have the same right that everyone else does. Male, female, black, white, it doesn't matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. We all have the same right to life. Nobody has the right to say, my political opinion removes your right to life. So when we get to this thing where there's problems out there, whether it's crack dealers or law enforcement or foreign military like the United Nations, if they're out there violating people's rights, they need to be taken care of. They need to be told, stop that. And they need to be told that very quickly, very loudly, very frequently. We got Bonnie Blue checking in with a $9.99 super chat donation. Thank you, Bonnie Blue. And this is what she says. 1 second. This is a good one. And by the way, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes. You can probably hear my voice is starting to go. Bonnie Blue says, any thoughts about the communist Biden has nominated who wants to see an end to private bank accounts and see everyone's accounts transferred to the Fed for equitable distribution? Any thoughts? Yeah, it's absolutely insane, Bonnie. It's insane. The woman that is being put into this position in the Treasury, nominated for it, is absolutely out of her fucking mind. I believe she was born under a communist regime and raised under a communist regime and has immigrated to the United States of America and thinks communism is a great idea, I guess, that everyone's private funds should be taken from them and put in a treasury, a form of treasury, but under the Federal Reserve System, which is a private bank, not a national treasury, and then redistributed. That is fucking communism. You can call it socialism if you want, but it's, you know, taking from everybody what they have and then giving back to the people just what they need, from each according to their ability to pay, to each according to their needs. Well, let's just say I'm a rich guy. I make, let's just say I make $500,000 a year. I make $500,000 a year. I'm kicking ass, right? I like to eat filet mignon and lobster, and I like to eat porterhouse steaks, and I like to eat a good Chateaubriand. I like good food. Well, this lady comes along with the Biden administration and says, we're taking all of your money, all $500,000 you made this year, and we're going to give you some ground beef. And I'm like, no. I eat filet mignon. They say from each according to their ability to pay, to each according to their need. And the government decides what you need. What is the government saying we need right now? The government's saying you need the Jim Jones juice. And you're like, no thanks. I'll pass on the Kool-Aid, motherfuckers. Right? They want to force some things on you, but they'll offer it, right? You want some hamburger? No, I don't want to eat anything the government offers. But yeah. But if I am John making $500,000 a year, which I have never made and am currently not making, $500,000 a year, and I've got no money, and then they say, would you like some ground beef? I'm going to be like, got no money, I've got no food. I guess I'll take the ground beef, thank you. Yeah, this is what they're pushing. And I doubt this person makes it, but they may make it into this position. And if they do get into that position, I doubt their idea of taking everyone's private accounts and putting them in the Fed is going to happen. But what they're doing is they're introducing the idea. They like to take 2 steps forward and then go, oh, just kidding, we'll take 1 step back. Just like that little Dr. Fuckhead has said that masks don't work, you don't need masks. And then turned around and said, no, you need masks. And we're not gonna require you to do anything. We're just gonna offer it, and you can voluntarily accept Kool-Aid. That you can take the Jim Jones juice. And now they're saying, no. It looks like you have to do it. And you just have to do it just one time. And as soon as we get enough people to drink the Kool-Aid, everything will be fine. Now they're saying, no, apparently you need to take the Kool-Aid and then go back for more Kool-Aid every couple of months. They always take 2 steps forward and then back off, let everyone calm down, and then say nothing. Then they take another 2 steps. Yeah, they're introducing the idea of socializing our wealth. They're talking about taxing billionaires, which really isn't going to happen. They're talking about taxing the rich, which means fuck over the middle class and the poor. They're talking about giving people a universal basic income. But I'm sure that if you make more than $40,000, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. If you make more than $60,000, you have to give it all back plus extra taxes. There's no free lunch, folks. There never has been. There never will be. Thank you for the topic, Bonnie. Stay tuned. We'll be talking more about the government being able to, or I don't know, tax people's 401ks. That's right, folks. Your tax-deferred retirement accounts. Maybe they'll start taxing them and forgetting about that whole deferral thing. You bet. I have paid all of my taxes. I am completely current on my taxes. I don't plan on paying any more taxes than I have to, but I've paid all of my taxes, folks. Have you? Do you have any money sitting in a 401k that the government could tax? They're going to get low-hanging fruit first. Government always does that. Understand that they always get the easy money first. They get the easy money first. They always get the easy people to drink the Kool-Aid first, and then they get tough later. See, that's exactly what they're doing now. They started with, go ahead and get it, go ahead and get it. You're up, first this group, and then this group, and then that group, and now, oh, now federal employees must, and now anyone in a corporation with more than 100 must. Right? They always get the easy fruit first. So when it comes to raising taxes, they'll get the easy ones first, but eventually they'll be coming for us all. Now, when it comes to the Jim Jones juice, folks, I don't like it, right? You can take mine, you can just pour it right the fuck out. Emilio Estevez turned down a very lucrative contract with Disney, supposedly, allegedly, just said walked away from his Mighty Ducks franchise. So I like to use Emilio Estevez as an excellent example of what to do when you're offered a drink that you don't like.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
You know, kid, usually when somebody pulls shit like that, my first reaction is, I want to punch his fucking lights out.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
But you know something?
You're all right.
Thank you, Mr. T, for that great promo. And I want to thank everybody for hitting that super chat button, making donations, keeping us at the Prepared Mind Network well stocked in spam and well able to look at the baloney that's going on, bring you some facts, bring you some ideas, some editorial opinions, and leave it up to you. What do you need to do? Do you need to get silver, or do you need to get copper, lead, and brass? Do you need to get meat and vegetables, or do you have a farm? Are you in the country or in the city? What self-defense plan do you have? When you look at medicinal advice coming from the government, what do you think? Right? I don't tell you what to do and tell you what to believe, folks. I just like to bring information to you and share it. I love to get your ideas, what you're thinking about, your information, and add it to what I know. Right? The Prepared Mind Network is a network of over 80,000 Americans. And we're looking to expand that greatly. We're looking to expand that greatly, and you have a part to play in this. Some of you are playing the part of providing information. Others of you are playing your part by spreading the word. I do want everyone to be prepared for the worst, but prep to action. What I mean by that is take action. Share the links. Get the email address, not the email address, the URL address, and email it to other people so they can learn what the hell is going on and get some information other than what the Brian Williamses of the world are telling them. the Don Lemons of the world? Do you want to hear from CNN, or do you want to hear from TPM, the Prepared Mind Network, right? I think I would rather hear from a private citizen who actually gives a shit than I would from somebody who is a paid mouthpiece and a stooge. But that's just me. Uh-oh, we have William C. checked in with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, capitalism is failing because the rich break laws and take everything by cheating. Tell you what, William, I'm going to agree to disagree in the same sentence. Capitalism has not failed, but capitalism has been converted into fascism in our country. Fascism, or crony capitalism, is the rich taking everything by making shady, shitty backroom deals with the government to enrich themselves. Corporations are enriching themselves because the government is paying them big contracts, making rules to enrich the rich. And the rich in turn give money to the politicians, called political contributions, political donations, campaign contributions, and campaign donations. So one hand is washing the other when it comes to politics and big business. And that is called fascism or crony capitalism. But capitalism itself isn't failing, in my opinion. Capitalism serves the people. It should have corporations competing against each other to provide us the best products at the best prices. Period. Government should not be rewarding corporations by allowing them to screw over mom and pop and screw over their employees. And corporations shouldn't be doing the bidding of big government by allowing big government to influence them, to force us, to coerce us, I should say, into taking the Jim Jones juice. Right? That's what they're doing. They're saying, hey, we're going to fire you if you don't do what Joe Biden says. That's not capitalism. That is fascism, my friends. It's socialism, but with fascism, which is just a little different than socialism with communism, where all the wealth is sucked from not only the poor, but the rich and siphoned to the government to redistribute. In fascism, the uber rich get to keep their money while the poor and the middle class get screwed over. That's what we got, folks. We got the super rich, yes, riching themselves, as pointed out, but it's not capitalism, it's fascism. I am an anti-fascist, but I am not Antifa. I am anti-communist. And the people that call themselves Antifa are communists. I am neither of those. I am against communism. I'm against fascism. I'm for freedom, folks. Liberty, freedom. That's what's in the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. And the Constitution is rules for government. I believe in rules for the government that provide the people with liberty and freedom. That is the corner from which I speak. I want the people to be free. I want the people to be allowed prosperity. I want the people to be allowed to keep that which they earn for themselves. Right? Corporations should be managed and controlled by the government. Corporations should not be paying to have government get out of its way. It's a weird, wacky world, folks. We're at 2 hours and 30 minutes. 2 hours and 30 minutes, folks. That is 150 minutes of live talk. The president of the United States can't get 500 people to listen to him for 5 fucking minutes. But here, folks, we get over 1,000 for hours at a time. It's because what we talk about here matters. And I want to thank you for participating. Woo! Another zoo, right? Sunday Night Live, off the hook. And now we're going to go off the air, but I'll be back on Patreon tomorrow, on YouTube tomorrow. I'll see you there. And I want to thank you for supporting all that we do. Folks, thank you for all that you do. Really. It's that important. Semper Fi means always faithful. Godspeed, and get prepared.
Come on, man.